will be up.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we got signed. Okay.
No, my parents.
Call the meeting to order. Rise, please. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight we have a joint meeting with the planning board and the zoning board. And normally we've been going over the changes that are upcoming to the zoning law. Generally I start the meeting with the old business. We're going to get into some of that, but seeing that we have some visitors tonight, we can get into some of the new business that I have just received in the last couple of days. So the town has passed a local law amending the zoning to make the fire department sits a emergency services zone. And that being is just to make it more in line with the properties being used for now. We've been approached, the fire company has been approached by another entity in putting a helicopter pad at the firehouse. Since that law was passed by the town board, they would not need a variance in order to do that. But because the property sits within the LC district, which is the land conservation district, so therefore it gets kicked to the planning board for review. Anything in the land conservation district would be brought to the board for its approval. So for you, those of you who are not familiar with it, some of the things that we're considering when an action like this is brought to us is that we're just looking for a surveyor's plan. We need to know setbacks, where the buildings are gonna be, the type of buildings that are gonna be there, any off-street parking, signs that they might be using. And we're gonna use that information as we make a determination whether or not the use fits to the property. Some of the other things that we have in the zoning that we can use is the need for the proposed project. In what respects the plan is or is not consistent with the stated purposes of a planned development district, which would be the LC, the land conservation district. To the extent at which the plan departs from the zoning regulations into the property in question, including but not limited to the bulk, the density, and like permitted uses. Basically, you know, is it already fit into the existing use that's there?
Pete, could you add why is the land conservation district there?
So land conservation was put in back when the zoning was put in the late 70s as an overlay to an existing district. And it was there to protect some of the more sensitive parts in the town. So what that is there for is basically everything around the lake shore is land conservation district. And it extends, if you can see the map on the wall, it extends up through the Mohawk Valley Basin and basically the severe slopes that are in the towns. So that was put in there, and by having the action become in a land conservation district going to the planning board, it just allows the town to have a little bit more oversight of what's going in those sensitive areas. So, and so basically it just goes down to, like, you know, are we generating any extra traffic? Is there gonna be any traffic patterns disrupted with this action? What do they do for storm, sanitary, solid waste disposal, things like that? And then anything that we can do to mitigate, maybe landscaping, some sort of privacy fence or something like that, the planning board could put in place and ask them to incorporate that into their designs to help keep the character of the community. So we have been, the fire company did reach out to us, and we do have a couple pieces of paper here, but we're still waiting on the actual official proposal and, like the survey drawings and the stuff like that we're gonna need, that's part of the requirements. So, with that being said, right now, this is like a working session, we're just talking with the board members to work through this and just compiling our information for our own sake, and then what will be coming to us in the near future. The project will not be determined yes or no tonight. I'm glad everybody's here and has an opportunity to hear what the process is, but that is not, we do not have enough stuff in front of us tonight to make any determination. So, with that being said, I don't know if we can open it up to some public comments if somebody wants to speak, and we just ask that you be respectful, and we'll give you some time. But other than that, like I said, there's nothing in front of us officially, and we cannot make a decision yes or no tonight, and go from there if anybody has any questions or anything like that.
My name is Don Peavy. I live on 7374 Stokes Westernville Road.
Is there going to be any need for DEC approvals on any of that construction taking place, especially in that zone?
There is no identified wetlands right now, but the only DEC action that we foresee would be fuel storage.
Mm-hmm. And is the river itself protected? I know that speaking with the New York State DEC folks, that the river right at Stokes Westernville Road, where it goes over the river there, that is protected area. So how far up the river does that extend? And if it does extend up the river that short distance, then it's definitely going to be in need of a DEC approval for that.
So there'll be a seeker form, which is
Yes.
the DEC form that will address that. And right now, there does not appear to be any, they're not in a wetland, they're not in a floodplain. But that's something that once
We've got the old town dump as a buffer.
Yeah, there you go. Another question, if I may. With respect to the process of working with current vendors, one of those being Mercy Flight. Mercy Flight's a current vendor for the town and for many other towns in the area. In speaking with them, they said that they were surprised by the speed at which the town and or the fire department made a decision without conferring with them that they wanted to drop Mercy Flight, jettison Mercy Flight, and go with another subscription service. So I'm just wondering, is that typically the way that we work with vendors in the town, is to sneak up and surprise them, or is it?
Time to cut that off right
Okay,
there.
go ahead.
We aren't dropping Mercy Flight as a vendor.
Okay.
That is not, you go down to Rome, you got a Ford dealership, you got a Chevy dealership.
Absolutely, yes.
We aren't dropping Mercy Flight. We're hoping that these two companies can work in conjunction. As recently as last Saturday, Sylvan Beach had a need for a helicopter that couldn't be fulfilled in the area.
Yes.
So
Yes, I heard about that.
the need in the area is greater. Is it going to create an incumbents on Mercy Flight to step up their game a little? Maybe. But this is how the world works.
Have there been issues with Mercy Flight where they wouldn't
There
step
hasn't
up?
been issues because Mercy Flight has kind of come in a vacuum where there was really nothing for a long, long time.
Right.
But so many insurance companies now, Paulie can attest to it. He works in the woods with guys. Somebody goes down with a hangnail. It's a helicopter, so the need is rising as times change.
Good. Is there a requirement that properties within that vicinity are notified if there's going to be any changes to the use of the land, not just variance, which you spoke of, but for any other changes? I know if there's a variance change in a property, that surrounding properties would need to be notified of that and then have their chance to face the zoning board
Yeah.
here. So,
When we get into the project, that's what we
Yes.
do. But
okay, good.
this project happens to have just about everybody in the room is next to it, or
Yeah,
people that are next
exactly.
to it happen to be in the room.
Yeah, awesome.
No, that's what it's then.
Great, thank you.
Man,
I just have a couple of quick questions regarding the project.
yes.
What if it comes to a point, in the situation, let's say it goes in, okay? What if there becomes a problem with noise for the surrounding buildings at the lower level? Because I lived under an airport in Boston, and I know planes are louder than helicopters. However, where I live on 46, when the helicopters come through low, it rattles my whole house. It makes my dogs run around in circles. So I'm just wondering, would there be a noise abatement ability if people in the surrounding homes close to this facility would find themselves in? Because I know they do noise abatement for airlines. The other question I have is, how many flights would there be on average, out of this? Do they have an idea? I'm sure with all the different facilities that they have, they've got an average number. They do that type of, statistic. So what would the average number of flights be? And would there be a limitation, or all flights go 24 hours? Is there, and there no variances to sound problems? I'm just concerned about noise as far as how it affects people's homes.
So, part of what the steps that we can go by is what we have in our zoning laws. So, under section C, number 11 is, we talk about the amenities as far as the light, the air, the visual, all that will come up when we address that when we get the project. I'm sure there will be a sound study that will be done. That's all stuff that we have privy to that we can ask and get the information from, and then as a board make the determination of what, if there's procedures to mitigate that or stuff like that. As far as a time limit or a time of the day, it's an emergency service. It's 24/7.
Well, that makes sense. I'm just curious to know if there were problems with certain homes that are within the close vicinity, would they be able to get some kind of help to put soundproof windows in like they do for airports and
There'll be a sound study. And
Okay.
We'll have to review that and.
all right.
But you gotta remember, we're still in the flight line for Fort Drum.
Yeah.
We've been in the flight line for Griffiths since 1947.
I'm aware that we're in the flight line. Like I said, when 15 helicopters fly over, I've seen groups of 6 to 10 fly over my house, double whirly birds, single whirly birds. I'm just wondering what would the noise abatement be, because I know for me it's pretty loud.
Yeah, we're.
Okay. Thank
you. Carol?
Quick question, an environmental aspect of it. We have bald eagles that nest in this area. Now, I'm just curious as to what the impact will be if we have constant and frequent flights, leaving from less than a half a mile from their nesting area. How is that going to impact them?
That, in the seeker form that we brought up, they have actually been elevated. They're not as endangered as the species as they have been, but that is still something that will come up in the seeker form, that any endangered species or at-risk species will have to be listed.
Hey, someone here has a question.
Yeah.
What I was wondering is, you talking about how this helicopter wants to come in here and stuff, but did anybody ever talk to Mercy Flights? What's gonna happen to them if they do come in here? Now, I had a good talk, and I understand they said if they're gonna be right here next door and they're in Griffiths, they're probably not gonna stay there, they're gonna pull out. Now, I understand that this company too, Mercy Flights in Watertown, Mercy Flights in Syracuse, they just put a helicopter in between them up that way. Now, is this just trying to distract somebody and take the business away from them? Because to be this close, it don't make sense to anybody being a mile away.
Unfortunately, it's.
And why are we building a base for them here?
Before we start shouting out questions, from now on, state your name, your address, and all that good stuff, because if you're somebody from off 3 counties away.
7374 South Westonville Road, and also 9232 Main Street, Westonville.
No, so as the planning board, we are looking at a project that's been submitted by a parcel holder in the town of Western. Some of the stuff that's not our, we're just looking at the land use of how it's gonna be done, and that's what we look at. We can't, that's, everybody's free to express their opinion and talk to the board members, but we have to keep it as, we're just looking at what this parcel owner wants to do with this piece of property. Does it fit in with our zoning? And that's what we're going off of. But right now, we don't have that kind of information in front of
We're looking
us.
at the ball field with kids playing up there, we got graduation parties, we got everything in the ball field is supposed to be.
Yep, no, and there again, it's stuff that would be brought up, but until we get an official proposal from the fire department, we can't get into any of this. I was trying to explain to everybody here what the procedures are gonna be and what our zoning is.
Robert McMullen.
Can you say it out loud?
Robert McMullen, Webster Hill Road. I understand too, talking to Mercy Flight and stuff like that, they say they have to have a 100-foot pad take off, they said 50-foot, and they have to have 100-foot to take off too, besides that. Now, I mean, and you can't go over no buildings 12 feet high or so. I mean, so that would put them right over this, your mother's land right there to take off on. And also, when they come back, if it's a change in weather, they have to do 2 circles before they can land. Now, I mean, this is stuff that people don't know here, and this noise ordinance and everything else is gonna happen. And people should know that right now too.
And that's, again, this is stuff that we can bring up, and I can only do what we have written in the current zoning law. That's what we're looking at.
Also, who is paying for the building of the landing field, the structures, the storage facilities, the fuel storage, et cetera? Is Lifelight going to pay for that, or is the town of Western paying for that? What is the impact going to be on our tax structure?
So, first of all, the fire department is not part of the town of Western. The fire department is a private entity that contracts with the town of Western for emergency services. So therefore, the town would have no, the only business the town has in there is the project proposed here does it meet the current zoning requirements?
I'll answer that question for her. Like Western Fire Chief,
Mike, you're gonna have to speak louder.
It's not gonna cost the taxpayer anything.
Okay.
They're footing the whole bill, so it's no expense to the
Okay,
town.
I'm just curious, we have no idea how it's happening, so that's why I'm asking.
That's why I'm answering.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
And as far as, some people are gonna question too, will there be any tax benefit that the town sees from this project? This board, nowhere in this zoning law does it mention anything that can get into any sort of assessment of the property or what any taxation rate would be. That is gonna be something that is gonna be solely on the tax assessor, what he decides to do in that situation. That's nothing that we cannot sit here and put any stipulations as far as tax on that, doing this land use.
Donald Peavy, 7374 Stokes Westerville Road. So with respect to the infrastructure that we might have to put in place to support a base like that that's going to be servicing a larger area than just our local geographic area, is that infrastructure then going to add to the requirements that you might need to increase the tax base to support that? That's part one. Part two would be, in the event that there are issues such as accidents, crashes, incidents that cause great devastation to the area for whatever, especially as close to the lake as they're going to be coming in, how is that going to be managed with respect to the current fire department? Are we going to have to grow it to support that? Is the infrastructure in many ways going to have to change, not just streets and roads and tax base, but safety services, the fire department? How much of those those resources are going to be used for that? So actually, is there going to be a cost to the town at some point in time?
No and zero.
No, it's not, because right now, we're on the flight pattern for Griffiths, and we provide crash protection there. We have the information, we have the training, we have the equipment, and there's Lake Delta, Rome, Floyd, and Westernville would respond to a disaster that the Griffiths Air Base. So we already have the training and the equipment.
Yeah, as far as the infrastructure goes, we're just looking at, we can look at traffic patterns and the amount of traffic. You know, I believe it's gonna be a station man 24 hours a day, and I'm assuming that they'll rotate after the next 24 hours, and it's proposed to be 3 to 4 people. I don't think we're gonna have a traffic jam on 46.
So there is a lot of news out there concerning train derailments and what that's doing to the local ecology in those areas, the environments in those areas where those accidents happen. Some of those places are unlivable for years. So with respect to any accident that might befall any one of these services, and or just the storage of the material in that environment, oil, gasoline, right close to that river that empties right into Delta, that is a pretty massive risk that maybe some of the folks here are going to be taking with respect to the environmental issues that could foreseeably come up.
Yeah, and
It's a
that's-
major, that the whole lake could
And there
go.
again, when we get into the project, we'll do the secret form,
Yeah.
and then we'll see, I mean, right now, it looks like the fuel oil's about, you know, as far as a helicopter coming out of the sky, we have them going over every day anyways. I don't you know, it's not gonna be any different between which one falls on your house.
Maybe they'll be electric soon.
Never.
As far as fuel storage and like that, it's negligible. No different than dairy farm, town barn, fire department that's already there. You're really not gonna find nothing.
It's not more or less a question. Well,
Just state your name, just say your name for the record.
Dennis O'Brien.
Yep.
6605 Baker Hill Road. Does anybody look at like people's well-being, the safety of people? I mean, not once have I heard anything about somebody getting to the hospital faster. I mean, it's about somebody that gets in a bad accident or whatever. I mean, I think, my opinion, that's more important than hearing a helicopter that flies over all the time anyway. I mean, the summer now, we have Harleys that go by every night. I think, you know, somebody's health is more important than a little bit of noise in the town.
And you work with the fire department?
Yes, I do.
Denise Sullivan, Route 46. Does this benefit the fire department? What are the ways it'll help out the fire department as far as bringing it up to a different level of attention for helping people that are injured and need immediate, transportation? Will it give something back to the fire department by its existence?
There again, this board is solely tasked at what the land use is. I mean, as far as any contract that the fire company has with Mercy Flight, that is not, we're just here to make sure that, or Flight, I'm sorry. Too many terms going around. So, yeah.
Okay, just curious. It seemed like it would be somewhat of a benefit to the process of rescuing people and stuff.
Absolutely.
Just one more thing, they said that they want to take a part of their land behind their fire barn to do this. Well, I know your zoning laws right now say you have to have 200 feet of road frontage to build anything on. So this is another thing we gotta change to build it, for like that too? Right now, your zoning law says you gotta have 200 feet of road frontage to put a building on.
Until we see what their proposal is, the road front, the fire company has road frontage, we just gotta see, I can't I don't know an answer to that until I see the drawings and see what they're proposing, so that's the reason we asked for, like, the layout of the setbacks, the off-street parking, all that is that we can take into account what the setbacks are for that zone, the RA zone, that's the underlying zone in there, and all that stuff will be addressed once we actually see the proposal. So, any other questions that we have?
I have one question, I don't mean to be troublesome,
No?
but I'm just kind of curious as to how this whole situation evolved. We had one emergency flight service in, no offense intended to either guy. Why is it now we're looking at another flight service? They're already out in Griffiths, there's no issue with their placement, we don't have to build anything new, we don't have to worry about easements, we don't have to worry about size of lots. So why are we changing everything up to bring them into the fire department area? Just out of curiosity.
What's the value of a life?
What's the difference between being here and being there? It's
There's a
still
big
a month.
difference.
It's a
Just-
2-minute trip from Christmas
Just
to here.
yesterday, Barnville asked for a helicopter for
Right.
Mercy Flight. They were unavailable.
Okay.
Somebody's in their time of need needed a helicopter and they couldn't perform to
I'm
produce
not,
it.
okay, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have both. That's not what I'm saying. I'm asking, how did we come to the decision of putting them at the Westernville Fire Department? That's all I'm asking.
They looked at several sites
Okay. See, we didn't know this, that's why I'm asking.
and they had reached out to our department, other departments in the area, and they had asked if we would be interested in if the opportunity to have another helicopter come in
That's
here.
all I was asking.
Being that we call helicopters, and even last year, we had a snowmobile accident
Yeah.
for Mercy Flight, which we're not, nothing against their service, nothing, they provide a great service. But how would you like, when we go to a call, even ambulances, we gotta call 6 or 7 ambulances in order to transport somebody in time of need. We call Boonville, we call Amcare, we call Star, we call Camden, we call West Leiden.
Yeah.
We get somebody out of Poland, and we get somebody out of Clinton. And we deal with that when somebody's breathing and can't breathe and is gonna code on us. I don't care where it comes from, but I need it now.
Right, no, I understand.
And that's why we look at that, because in some cases, the helicopter's the same situation. And so, okay, if they can't fill that void, they'll call another helicopter that could be 150 miles away.
Oh, my goodness.
And it takes 20 minutes to get there.
Okay, so
When you-
you're clarifying things to make us understand better why, you know.
Right, and that's why we do that, because right now there's a shortage of personnel, there's a shortage of ambulances, there's a shortage of workers and stuff like that. And we go on a call, it's nerve-wracking to us to know that the people that we serve in our community, which the majority of whom we know, that I would like to throw them in my vehicle and take them to the hospital. But there's a law that says that I can't do that. And the thing is, when they're gasping for their breath and to live, and you can't find an ambulance, you gotta wait 20 minutes, a half hour, 45 minutes, that's wrong. And all we're trying to do is improve the quality and the care for the residents of the town of Western, which will benefit the most out of this whole thing because they're based right in our backyard. In addition to that, they can fly 180 or 360 degree radius. They have a base, what they're saying up in Watertown right now. They don't get the full benefit of that helicopter being there, because they're only limited by the 180 degrees of the rotation of it to where they can only benefit part of it. So if they move south and it's more centrally located, it's a better alignment for the use of what they do and for what we do, and it fits our scope that what we need.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but still, Mike, you're running against the thing, they come in here and they pull out down there, what are we gaining? What are we gaining then?
That's not for me to determine.
You're saying that, you're trying to tell them, you're selling them a helicopter here and have one down there, but they're gonna pull out down there.
That's not for me to answer. How do you know that they're gonna do that?
Because I talked to Mercy Flight, they said, we're not gonna stay around here if we get pulled out like that.
Well, they have a 5-year contract right now. The only reason why they renewed it is because Oneida County gave them additional money to stay here. So you're saying that they don't get tax money from the county? They do. So you're subsidizing them by your taxes. Just so you say that they don't? You
So
do?
we're going to subsidize Life Flight as well?
No. LifeNet is an independent entity.
Yeah.
They're gonna be self-supportive. They don't take taxes from the community, which Mercy Flight does.
Okay.
But they give you $36,000 a year.
That's not out of your pocket.
Wait a minute.
Who's going to pay for the structures for Life Flight?
What's that?
Who will pay for the structures for Life Flight?
They will pay their own construction.
Okay, so they're paying for the construction, they're paying for the taxes on the land, they're paying for the additions or expansions of parking area, road
They're paying
construction,
for
driveways,
100%
everything.
100% everything. It's not gonna cost the taxpayer a dollar. It's not gonna cost the fire department a dollar.
Now, I understand this helicopter that's coming up there, it's coming from down south, not coming from Watertown. And it's painted red and white right now, instead of blue and white?
I'm Bill Stuba. I'm Senior Area Manager for Air Methods. I mean, I'd be happy to answer a lot of questions, but I will be candid. Some of the questions truly, whether it was myself or Brian was answering the questions, color of the aircraft means nothing. The name on the aircraft means nothing. You're getting both services, a critical care transport team with a critical care nurse and critical care paramedic. We are both accredited services. It's essentially supplementing for the community. Color of the aircraft and the name on it is completely irrelevant, because if we were working side by side at an accident scene, you're going to see 4 individuals in a flight suit, and unless someone turned around and you actually saw the name on a flight suit or a name tag, you wouldn't know the difference if he and I work together every day or if we just met each other 2 seconds ago. Why? Because that is what we do, both of our services in the community across the state and across the country every day.
What is the cost to the consumer?
Cost of the consumer?
You want to speak to that?
Go ahead.
So every air medical organization who bills will bill the patient directly. So you'll receive, I can only speak about Air Methods, but you'll receive a letter. We don't send like a black and white invoice. We send a letter that says, we're so sorry for your injury or illness, and we're going to assign you a patient advocate, and that person is going to help navigate the insurance. So whether your bill is $20,000, $30,000 or more, no one across the country, because the No Surprises Act, can actually balance bill you. So you receive the bill, your insurance company assesses the bill, they send back to Air Methods the amount that they determine. So I'll just use arbitrary numbers, $10,000. We can't go after anyone, rightfully so, to collect any additional money. We only ask for co-pays and deductibles. Assessment of Air Methods nationwide in 48 states, our average out-of-pocket for a patient who's flown by Air Methods is $200.
And what about Mercy Flight?
Brian Crolius, Mercy Flight Central. I will be completely honest, I do not have the figures for what the average bill is for Mercy Flight. We have the same regulations with the No Surprise Act, no balance billing. We are in network with multiple insurance companies. I'm a flight paramedic stationed out of Griffiths, and my chief concern has always been patient care. I've tried my best to stay out of billing and everything else because, as it's been referenced earlier tonight, when somebody's life is in jeopardy, the last thing we want to do is start assigning price tags to everything before we worry about that patient and what we're going to do for them.
And just to follow up, we are in network with 80% of insurance companies nationwide, with the goal of being 100% soon.
So going forward, if there's no other questions from the public, because like I said, we are not doing anything further tonight on this. I just want to let everybody know what the steps are going to be. Once the project is given to us, we have sent on the stuff to Mike that we need to have, the pieces of paper and stuff that we need. He's got a copy of that, and once we get that stuff back, we will start reviewing it. Our monthly meetings every third Monday of the month. From there, we will make a recommendation for the project that will then go in front of the ZBA as far as just making sure that any conditions that the planning board did put on to it are going to be met, and the ZBA will go through that and to see how those conditions are met. And from there, the project is either allowed or disallowed. And in our zoning, there is a provision at the very end, the last step, the town board may come in and reverse the decision of the planning and zoning board, but they have to do it with a supermajority. So that is a procedure that's in place currently for a project of this nature. So other than that, everybody's more than welcome to stay, but we're gonna go back to our regularly scheduled program.
Could I ask a procedural question?
Yes.
Yeah. Travis Mitchell with Environmental Design Partnership. I'm working with the fire department and with LifeNet on the process and helping them through the approvals. You mentioned seeker.
Yes.
And so we'll be preparing the documents that you need to advance your review.
Yes.
And as far as this action goes, the way I see this, it's an unlisted action on a short form. Have you looked at it enough to know if that's the way you'd like to proceed with it, or do you not? Okay.
Yeah, that's part of our thing we're gonna go over with the board tonight. Okay. It looks like it's leaning towards either type 2 or unlisted, and be the shorter form.
I just asked so that I prepare the correct form for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Yep. Yep, so going back to our regular, some of the old business we had coming up. We'll wait.
This Mr. Peavy. Peavy, gentleman with the microphone. Yeah. Is he with some news agency? Because he says he's on Western Philippines, but he's not the only person in the room. I wanted to ask before he left.
He hasn't left yet, because he's got the video right over.
Oh, that's him there too?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. He says, oh, I'm from Westernville Road, but who are you really from? Where is this going?
You're a lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
He plays an attorney on TV.
I am.
I have it's not specific to this. When you're on the telephone,
In New York.
you're on speakerphone, but you don't tell somebody else they're on speakerphone.
Right.
Is that illegal?
In New York, that's allowed.
It's allowed. You can have a.
It varies from state to
Speakerphone is
state.
not that, but it's recording, that's the issue.
Okay, did you inform everybody that he was recording?
I don't believe he's.
I walked in late. I didn't know maybe he announced it before I came in. I was about 3 minutes late, so I missed the beginning.
It's an open meeting.
It's an open meeting, so therefore, public forum, he has broken no rules.
And I'm
Oh, I'm not
just.
saying he broke the rules, but he should tell us who he's recording it for.
Yeah, who?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that would be, that would be an interesting answer.
I would have asked.
Don't be a bit surprised.
What was that?
Don't be a bit surprised that if you see parts of the music recorded tonight on the internet, you'll play
Oh, so he's got podcasts, okay. I'm thinking too traditional, they have two words.
Could be a podcast.
He's a podcaster.
I won't see it.
Me neither, I don't go to that kind of stuff. I don't do that.
What do we got?
I've never listened to a podcast.
We're gonna move on
I don't know what the hell it is.
Oh, I know.
That's something different. So as far as getting into the solar part of it, read through what Carl had sent. Did Carl email everybody a PDF or no?
Didn't get it.
No.
Didn't get anything.
Oh, the solar?
Yes. No, not the solar, the whole plan.
I got the whole plan right here.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't get it.
So far,
Well, let's see.
nothing's been sent to me.
No,
Not in the last round,
not in the last 24 hours or so.
not in the last
No, it was,
month.
Yeah, in the last month.
Yeah, nothing.
okay.
Last month.
So he did, I should have printed that off, I was hoping everybody had, because I know you mentioned about sending it out to everybody. Because I had a copy of it from him, but it was only just me and him, it wasn't a blanket email, so maybe,
Well,
maybe it got lost in the,
I don't think there's a need on a regular basis to print everything
No.
out. But
no.
in order to get the pertinent things by email would certainly be appropriate.
So,
The strange thing is, ever so often, someone will send me an email, and it doesn't show up today, it shows up 3 or 4 days down the road.
Yeah.
And sometimes it never shows up at all. So that could have happened to what Carl sent too. It may be too big.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as the solar, Phil mentioned it a couple times, the one thing he does not have in there was having any solar project be on one continuous tax parcel under one
Oh,
owner.
I see what you're saying. This is in the
Contiguous.
contiguous.
Don't ask me to stop.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty important component.
I
agree with
absolutely agree,
So
because there, I saw problems in the Canandaigua area where people had agreements and then the agreements turned into a nightmare.
Okay, so.
So
Is everybody
yes,
pretty much on
I
agreement?
absolutely
Put that
think
in
that
there.
that's the way to fly.
Yeah.
That'd be the other one.
Yeah.
Contiguous.
Yeah, because they've had problems in other areas, too, like he says again in Dayton.
And help Westmoreland bail out of
Well, just one thing, what if, just use your farm for example, Pete. They're gonna put one there, you own 2 parcels, 2 different tax parcels adjacent to each other. But it's still, you're the owner. How would we deal with something
I
like
think
that?
that would be okay.
You
Yeah.
can, well, you can, because I just had to do this,
Okay,
you can fill out a piece of paper and as long as you're touching,
yep,
you can request, the deed stays the same, The deeds won't change, but your parcel identification will change to be one parcel.
One parcel, okay. So
As
that's an
long as
easy,
they touch.
so that would be an easy fix for somebody?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one sheet of paper to the town assessor, and you
Okay.
now have one parcel instead of two.
No, you still have two parcel IDs, but they're
Or-
taxed as
They're
one.
taxed
Is that what it is?
That's
Okay.
what it is.
Because Steve said the deed would stay the same.
Correct, and you would have, each of the parcels would have a deed,
Okay.
or maybe.
Two
it was
different deeds, two different numbers, all the
Yeah.
above, but
So then
but for the
that brings it
business
back to the
side,
problem.
it would be identified as one parcel.
Yeah,
It's
we'll just,
taxed as one,
Yeah,
correct,
taxed as one.
yes.
we'll have to, when she say continue.
Contiguous, I think that would be
Contiguous.
acceptable if it's the same owner,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
We'll just have
but
the way we
it
write
has to
that,
be the
we'll
same
have to-
owner, it can't be a sister and a
Yes.
brother.
No,
Yes.
no.
You can't go that
Or
route.
mom or
Because,
dad. or
yeah,
something.
because then you run into the
That
problems
particular
again.
verbiage in Westmoreland's solar plan saved them from an awful,
Sure.
big problem.
Yeah,
They had like 9 different, it was just gonna be a mess. It just gives us one more tool in our toolbox.
yeah,
It should be
yeah.
like the owner of deed of record owner. In other words, you know. you
Yeah,
own-
that's,
yeah, Peter
certainly
owns-
that's another way to put it.
Yep,
Yeah, Peter owns several parcels, but he is,
All the lingo.
yeah, he is the deed
Yeah, well,
of record.
I'll look in to see if Westmoreland has that on their website, and we'll see how the actual
Yeah, the
verbiage
actual
plays-
words, yeah.
Yeah, so that plays out. The only other thing I did not see, and it is sort of referenced in there, is their master plan does have site vistas listed, you know, sensitive areas. So we would look at just maybe making sure that that's really emphasized in there, that.
The aesthetics.
Yeah, that we're taking, you know, that this particular area is a view shed, and we would prefer not to have any of these larger projects in the view shed.
have we determined the vistas here?
Yes, the new master plan has, I know for one for sure is up on Moskin Corner,
Quaker
up
Hill.
on Quaker Hill. I wanna say there was 2 other ones, but offhand, I don't have that. I do have,
Beauty is typically in the eye of the beholder, and so what's beautiful
Yes.
to
Well,
one.
but with all the wind farms in Madison County, I don't think they ever took any of that into play.
no, I mean, solar is less
Solar is-
invasive
Less
Yes,
intrusive,
yes.
yeah.
from way away.
But on either side of that, you would think that it would be something that you would consider
Yes.
in the future, right? And certainly something that we would definitely want to have in writing.
So that's the last, and then everything else is basically anything under 25 megawatts has already been
Right.
that law that the town passed as far as its streamlined process.
Right.
And anything over 25 megawatts is a state process to
State
begin
regs.
with, so we.
State exempts us anyways.
If we play nice, they might do some of what we want, but if we don't play nice, they're gonna tell us, go bag it.
Right.
That's about how it lands.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is we make sure that he's got a nice, whoever he copied it from, it's really nice as far as the privacy fence, what to do with the vegetation. The only other thing I kinda liked, and it does reference ag and markets, is that any farm land that gets put into a solar panel, I've seen some towns require, and I think ag and market, they actually might require it has to be 5 foot minimum depth. Where if it's not a farm property, it can go as shallow as 4 foot.
Explain.
So anything that's dug underneath the wires,
okay.
so that way if it's decommissioned,
Okay.
if it's at 5 foot, more than likely it's not gonna be, a farmer's not gonna rip it up.
Right.
If he starts plowing the field again. So but
Oh, is that like the wiring and everything that goes to
yeah,
it?
everything is underground from the panels.
Yeah.
And then the
Okay.
only thing that goes back above ground is from the substation back to the NIMO. So, National Grid. I kinda like that, just that future reference. That
Sure.
Everything's way underground, out of the way. And
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Mother Nature with frost thaw cycles will actually
Yeah.
elevate that stuff over time.
But that's But it does, wherever he pulled it out from does reference Ag and Markets, and I think Ag and Markets made that, if it's an.
No, did they say anything about the prime soils?
Yes,
Okay.
so to try to avoid the prime soil.
Right.
That's basically what the state of New York has said in their.
Yeah, they don't want good growing land to be consumed in this.
Yeah, they're trying to discourage it, I guess, and encourage more marginal land.
But one of the biggest projects in Oneida County is going on. Probably the best
Yeah, it
in
is,
Oneida County.
yeah.
The other thing, the state, especially with their 25 and above, they are encouraging dual purpose. They're trying to get them to re-engineer these things for grazing purposes and stuff like that.
Bunch of sheep.
Well,
The goats
There's a
certainly
lot
to
going
keep it all mowed.
I mean, it's like anything else. Where it starts here and where it is in 20 years, there'll be a lot of innovations.
Going back to your berrying, there's a farmer that's doing one, I believe it's Beacon Light Road or somewhere down by the casino. And he says it's one of their poorest fields. It's always been a poor field. And their thought is it's going to be there for 20 years. It's going to give a chance to rebuild that topsoil.
Sure.
It's not cemented in the ground. He sees them pulling it after 20 years and going back and using the field again.
I'd rather see
Whether that really
I'd rather see
happens-
that as a plan,
Right.
at least as a possibility, rather than it become a bunch of unusable junk.
I mean, his other thought was either we do this or we're gonna put houses there.
Yeah.
But when I worked on that one down Verona,
Yes.
they drilled pilot holes for the posts, but they were not concreted in.
Okay.
They were, you put crushed stone in and compacted it to the crushed stone so it'd have a little more stability, but crushed limestone is only a benefit to the soil anyway.
Right.
so.
And be underground.
So that part of it, hopefully I'll try forwarding on. From the last time I tried forwarding on it, my device reformatted everything and it screwed the master plan all up. That's why.
Have you tried doing one at a time? One,
Did it came through for you formatted correctly?
as far as I can tell. That was a test case.
Yes.
Yeah, rather
And I was gonna print it,
than
but
try
there's
and
too
do
many
the whole thing, I think
Around the
it
office
makes more
today,
sense to
print out 50 pages.
send it to each individual.
Yeah.
More time consuming, but
They're asking questions.
So we have not heard any updates from, moving on to a different subject, is the apartments that are proposed on Elmer Hill Road.
I haven't heard anything about these.
Okay, so Scott Bush was approached by a developer, and there's a parcel off.
Oh, part of Lee and part of here, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So there again, we have not, nobody's
no more info.
made a formal, because that's gonna be another thing that the planning board, because that'd be a planned development.
Yeah.
So that'll definitely fall under the planning board, and we're gonna have to figure out how we divide responsibility between town of Lee, town of Western, how
Right.
that works. And I'm assuming one becomes a lead agency,
Yeah.
just to make it simpler.
Well, we basically gotta have all our ducks in a row with each other before we can move anywhere.
Most of what we have written as far as zoning is similar. So that helps.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any major breakups between Lee and here. Or at least once we have everything complete.
Yep.
The zoning will be very similar between the two.
If you've seen the map, so it's, right now, it's proposed for 3 buildings for the town of Western and 8 buildings, or 9 buildings for the town of Lee.
But none of them in our town are actually going to be apartments.
Oh, yes.
So 2 of them are. Oh, I thought they were gonna be.
Right now, the way
Okay.
the drawing is, it's gonna
Okay.
be the clubhouse, they're calling the main house,
Right.
and then the first 2 buildings, and basically, and it's like the 3/4 of those buildings are, and then like the line goes right through the last apartment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In the clubhouse, that's gonna be the business office,
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I remembered. I remembered that, but I didn't realize that parts of the apartments were actually gonna be in our town too.
Yep.
Okay.
if you're on Elmer Hill Road, the roadway, the proposed roadway is right on the edge of the city of Rome. If you're going away from Lake Delta
It's gotta be real
Firehouse.
close to where the golf driving range was?
No.
No, it's down farther.
Oh, it's down.
North of
It's
that.
north of that? Okay.
Do you know where the little old, it's a home now, but it was a little brick schoolhouse?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's right there in that area.
Okay.
So, and then the only other old business that I had was that, I did have a solar company reach out to me on the Andrick property that I mentioned in the last meeting, but they have not presented anything formal. I told her to get a hold of Scott, and
I talked to Jason and he hasn't heard anything new on it lately either, so.
Jason.
Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did the same thing a couple years ago, too.
Yeah.
He is thinking that this one is a more stable offer. But
You
there
gotta
was a
read
lot.
it real good.
Yeah.
That's my best advice.
But there was a lot of unknowns, and I approached him the other night. Oh, I thought that was quiet yet. I said, well, nothing stays quiet around there too long.
You're done with your old business?
No,
Oh.
so,
You're done with,
well, you got, yeah, so that part there, the only other, or moving on to the
yeah, that's what I meant,
current,
moving
yeah,
on.
current business is the one associate of the fire department and the helicopter company there said about the seeker forms. So there's a long form and a short form. The short form, when you go through there, basically addresses everything that's there, and it doesn't really kick any red flags into kicking it to the long form or doing it EIS, which is environmental impacts.
New York State wanted it, most of them, to be the short form version
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah, and it's
They were
probably
pushing it that way. That's the way they wrote it.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna end up being unlisted just because it's not something that fits into the other two categories, which still you can go to the short seeker form that way. The only hiccup I see, and I don't know how close they actually are, is the dump. I mean, the dump is behind them, but
Yeah,
the
the
actual
dump
garbage
is-
is further down towards
Yeah.
the Legion, so.
Right.
That would be one thing that maybe we'll have to reach out to the DEC just to see what their buffer zone is or something like that.
The old dump, doesn't it run like an angle through there behind?
Well, it was actually the old canal.
Yeah, I know what it was, right, it was the old
And,
canal.
It's down,
I
the
thought-
dump is actually more on the property line, more behind your property, I think,
The dump
actually.
is, the end of the dump is directly behind us.
Right, right. Because there, for a lot of years, it didn't go anywhere because they burnt. And then when they started
Going
landfilling
down a
it.
few feet there from the line, and coming all the way up there was no dump, that was just dump. When the hurricane, or tornado came through, some of the trees that came up through,
Yeah.
you can see some of the dump stuff there.
Yeah. So, and that's in part, like the wetlands, there's not the wetlands, but there is the bald eagle listed, would probably be one of the animals listed on there. But I think that the short form is more than adequate for what the project is gonna entail. So I'm assuming by next meeting, we will have an official proposal from them, and we can start our.
Well, that will be planning board only.
Yes,
To
so
start.
I'll have to see, depending on, we might not be able to do a joint meeting, I don't know if we'll have enough time in the day to
Right.
see, to get through, that you guys don't have to sit there and.
Yeah, wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
They can sit in the audience.
Yeah, but after assessment review, Bill and I might not be around anymore.
That's true.
Bill's gonna put you in the front.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Anyway, yeah.
So are they working on the proposal right now, the fire department and?
Yes.
Right,
Good.
Put it supposedly,
okay.
because
Well, this is a working session, we had, there's no clock starting, because nothing's been presented to us.
Right.
I just wondered if they had a time frame when they were gonna present it to us.
They had a preliminary layout and they had no idea what the fire company layout was when they brought it. And we walked out there with them and there was still snow on the ground and showed them the basic
But
area.
they must have measured the area by looking at maps or something to
Through
know,
maps.
to realize that whether they had enough area for.
Well, and I'm sure from that preliminary meeting, there was a little bit of wonderment yet, and now that they see that we're serious, they're probably putting the real plan together.
Yeah.
See, most of them are gone, but for those that don't know, I'm three-pronged in this. The fire department, I've been in that for almost 45 years, and it presents something to the fire department that we want to see. Mercy Flight, Brian Cornelius, that sat right there, is my son-in-law. So, and then I sit on both of these boards, so no matter what happens, I'm getting shot.
Yeah.
Especially if my snow blower doesn't get done soon.
Well, Skitty just went in the shop with the main hydraulics coming off of it, so it's gonna be a few days.
No, I'll save a place for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna be cremated, Mary.
I'll still save a place for you.
So,
Are we still on old business?
no,
No? Okay. Just for information purposes,
yes.
zoning officer, get any more information related to the last construction possibility? I know this is planning zoning both.
Which construction one?
The potential for building remodeling the home off the lake.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wondering if any more information came in.
Okay,
Don't say words, we don't need names.
Mr. P, I have the plans that he gave to Scott for building a pole barn on
Oh, that's it? So
No,
it's
no,
still,
yeah.
still
a
related?
pole barn on a parcel he owns that is not a full acre.
Okay, so it's therefore, nothing has changed.
Well, Scott was under the impression that tonight, either before or after this meeting, we were going to hear this gentleman's request for a variance. But Carl never gave me a definite answer on whether or not he wanted to hear this variance. So
We can't.
I never advertised for it.
But
Yeah,
none of it is legal at this point.
No, no.
So
I
it
got all
doesn't
the
mean any of the
plans.
muster, okay.
yeah, I got all the plans and everything. I talked to Carl and he never gave me a definite answer. I asked him, should it be an interpretation of
No,
the
it
zoning or should it be a request for a variance? He never answered me.
That's because we don't have enough
No,
information
you
to
don't
be
have enough
able to do
information.
it.
And what we
Yeah,
are
so
getting.
Carl was doing it right.
Right, Carl was doing it right. But what we are getting is hearsay.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right. But anyway, for the
well-
zoning board, next Monday night, and there is a request for a variance from a gentleman who lives on the Longshore Road.
This is a different
This
project?
is a whole different project.
Okay.
And just so you're aware of it,
Okay.
next Monday night, I advertised for a meeting of the zoning board.
Okay.
This gentleman lives on the Longshore Road and he wants to build a garage or a pole barn.
As long as he has all of the proper material, we'll see it.
Yeah, well, he needs a reduction of the distance from the center of the road because of the lay of the land.
Has he supplied plans?
Well, that's all I got.
Okay.
So he must have given Scott something. Yeah, it's drawn like this, but
Knowing the area and being familiar, I can
I
understand that.
think we gave somebody else, the ZBA gave somebody else permission to build on the Longshore Road and they needed a reduction from the center of the road. And, so.
That's something you guys,
I
we'll
just
probably
want-
still do a joint meeting, because that should be something.
Yeah, do you wanna?
Yeah, that
That
would be
should be-
fairly quick, I would think.
So you want to do a joint meeting next week too? Okay. I call them walks in the park, things like this,
I'll make sure that we get that stuff emailed out, so you guys.
I've got a class next Monday.
Okay.
Oh, I'll write you down as excuse.
So,
It depends how long the meeting is, I can do that. I have to start at 8 o'clock, so.
Oh,
When you're absent to sell a house, you gotta cut us in about 10%. 10% 10% of your cut, so we won't make it 10% of the total.
I'm still in line for my cut, I haven't seen it.
Bill, we're working for you here.
By the way, there's a for sale sign in front of
I
my neighbor's
saw
house.
that.
I gotta find out which realtor it is.
I went past it today and it's black and blue right.
Yeah, you can't hardly read
You
it.
can't read it.
Yeah.
So
And it's just
Anyway.
not our board.
with that, I don't have any other things. I don't know if any of other board members have anything.
I make a motion for adjournment.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, next week for the joint meeting, we'll do the joint meeting at 7:30 because the ZBA, it should even take us half an hour.
That should be fine.
So I may not be able to be here.
We gonna try to print this out then,
I
or
don't know.
have everybody print their own?
I'll try to make sure I get it sent out to everybody to read, because it is printed off.
49 pages, that's what I said.
I'd rather just read it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
a forester here that wants to use more paper.
We got social security.
But there's too many people at the office today for me to print it out, because they
Oh,
wonder what.
I'm sorry. So you needed them distracted more?
Yeah.
Well, send Phil.
Was it 49 single pages? Or was it 49 single pages or 49
I
double
could,
pages?
I could do it on single pages, so you could do it, I guess, back to back.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
everything.
But I do it on only for.
Large font, double space.
Yeah,
Gotta keep those two paper companies
Right.
going.
Yeah,
yeah, for
The
me,
large-
do
the-
large font for me.
the large font, some of us are getting to that age.
Oh, I forgot my glasses.
Uh,
Needed to read it.
I wouldn't have had mine if my welding helmet stays in the truck now and I gotta have glasses to weld anymore, so.
Okay.
So,
Alrighty, it's
We're good to go.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.